You ask about a lot of the myths about why maybe somebody shouldn't go into surgery. The biggest one out there is that the lifestyle is horrible.
Well, one of the challenges, and some purport it to be a myth about surgeons, is that, once you sign on this surgery, you never have time for families, social life, or anything related to what we would call normal humanness.
When I was applying, I was told that the divorce rate was over 200%. I only knew of maybe one person while I was there that had been divorced.
A few of the myths that I've stumbled across include that all we do is operate. Even my mother was surprised to hear that there were days I didn't operate. At my busiest as a clinical surgeon, I only operated 3 days a week because, you see people in the office, you take care of your patients on the floor, you have to think and plan, and there are days spent making diagnoses and managing patients, which I think is ill understood even in the world of medicine.
A lot of folks look and say, oh, the surgeon's always in the operating room, he's always at the hospital. And it's true, we work long hours, but I'll tell you, my family has always been my priority. I make it home just about every night to put my kids to bed.
Your lifestyle as a surgeon is what you make it. Whether you go into academics or private practice, it literally is what you make it.
We have probably a misconception about what is a lifestyle of surgeons. There is no doubt that we have committed to our patients, but also I have a strong commitment to my family, and I also have a strong commitment to my academic career, and I try to balance them very well, and I think I actually am being very successful.
Balancing the different aspects of our careers are very hard. There aren't enough hours in the day to do everything you want to do, and so it takes a lot of forethought and planning to try to be able to do all of the things you can do.
It's not realistic to have expectations that are really not reachable by any human. You can't be president of the PTA and the Garden Society and bake all your own bread, and it's not realistic.
I love this job, don't get me wrong. I love it. I get up in the morning and I'm happy about it, but I like being outside the hospital too. When you're unhappy and you go into work unhappy, you're miserable. And so when I, get some time off and I'm able to go home and spend time with my family and my friends, it's great because then I go back to work recharged. Like I look forward to going back to work as opposed to dreading it. Nothing is worth doing if you're miserable. And part of making sure that people stay happy is making sure they're happy outside the hospital too.
Death and disease and all those things that we deal with on a daily basis can be demanding. It's unexpected. You can't schedule it in because our families and, quite frankly, our society depend on us to be there. Therefore, you have to be very creative and persistent in making sure that your family doesn't get pushed to the side. So what do? Well, sometimes you got to get up a little earlier. Sometimes you have to schedule those things that are probably not as important to sort of get out of the building, get to that play, get to that recital, and you just have to hardwire it in just like anything else in life and not miss it. So far, so good, knock on wood, I've been successful in doing that.
You control the rest of your life once you're done with your training, right? You're the person who kind of sets the rules. I mean, you have an obligation to your patients and you have an obligation to the service that you provide to the hospital or to a department of surgery or to whatever your community is. But you have a fair amount of control over how that works when you're the kind of independent practitioner.
You decide how you're going to use your time and how you're going to spend your time, and that's how you prioritize things. And if your children and your family relationship is important to you, then you can fit that into the broad scheme.
We have a 9-month-old son who I see plenty of. Alessandra works 80%, has every Tuesday off, and spends time with Aiden. We work our call schedules to make it work, and I think we spend plenty of time together. Alessandra, like she said, we see a lot of each other at work and have lunch together frequently, and spend a lot of time with Aiden.
He's never missed a pediatrician's appointment. We've both taken him to Gymboree and the art museum. I mean, we're normal parents, I think. And still, we're both getting master's degrees and doing other things within academics too. So it's not that we're sacrificing our academic careers in order to have a family, just find a balance.
The issue about the surgical lifestyle is one that's been beat up around us now for nearly 30 years. And in fact, we have done a lot about that. First of all,
the critical things that happen to make a lifestyle good is the development of group practices. People who are in groups of 3 or more end up with a very comfortable lifestyle. They're on call every third night, they're on call every third weekend. The person who takes call at night generally will get them home by 6 p.m. for supper. You know, that style of work, the lone wolf, single practitioner really has a hard time. But if you're in a group, 3 or 4 person group or bigger, a lot of those things start to get better and go away.
I'm in a situation in my practice where there's 6 of us, so we share call, and it's fairly reasonable, and everybody is really accepting of each of us having our own lifestyles and wanting to balance family and such. So I think that's the other advice I would have, is to find a group where you share common goals, and you can certainly have a life out of surgery. There's no doubt about that.
The real beauty with private practice is ultimate control of your schedule. You're your boss. And that was the other thing I always liked about surgery, is I was the one that was in charge of the case, the OR start time, the rest of my schedule. So if I don't start until 9 o'clock because I'm taking my daughter to school, and the OR calls and says, can you start at 7:30? I say, no, actually I can't. I have a scheduling conflict. So that's fine. So when that's what I use when I'm trying to do the work-family balance. It's a scheduling conflict, and you base what your priorities are. And exactly that is, with your elective cases, you make a choice of how many you're going to do that day and when you're going to do it, and then allow yourself some buffer for the emergencies that need to happen.
I have 6 children. And my oldest son told me at age 15, he said, I don't want to do what you do because you're never home. And I begged to differ with him, because I felt that, and I'm proud to say that I never missed one of his football games, baseball games, or soccer games, school, play, activity, PTA. I always made time to be there. But he had the impression that I was never home. I can say that same son is a 4th-year surgical resident right now. I'm pretty happy with how they've turned out. My oldest son says now that he really didn't mean it. When he was 15, he was just kind of mad at me.
I am a family man. My wife is actually also a physician. She's a OBGYN, and I have 2 children, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And my family is clearly my priority, and it comes before everything. And I think you can do that. I have partners who are very supportive of that. They're a little bit older than I am. They've raised a family, but they make every effort to make sure that I see my family every day. And that's important. It's important to me, and I make an effort to do that.
You know, as tired as I may be when I get home from work, I know that from the moment I walk in the door till the time my son goes to bed, that's his time. And I play with him, and I, put everything aside, and I try to make sure that I spend that time with him, because I know that I'm not there a lot of times during the day. It's always a challenge, but it's something that's certainly workable, and I think that my son is very happy, my husband's very happy, and I love my family, and I love spending time with them.
I have a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old, so my outside the OR life involves them, and that's my best part. I can read any children's book you want almost by memory right now.
We really block out time, all day Saturday for the kids' soccer games, and Tuesday night where I go play some basketball, and Monday night where my wife goes to play some tennis, so that we get a sense of normalcy.
I have a 6-year-old child, but when she was 1 until kindergarten, until age 5, her nanny brought her to work every Tuesday and had lunch with me. So it was scheduled into the day, but my daughter at least had an idea of where I was when I wasn't at home.
So if I've got a taekwondo for my daughter, or my son's got soccer practice, and I want to go to that, I schedule it in.
I'm there to go to PTA meetings and the Walk to Read program and all those other things.
It's important as a life balancing thing to have one thing that you do, at least one thing that you do just for you. And for me, I play squash. I play a lot of squash. I participate in national tournaments. That's for fitness and for social and everything else.
I have a lot of hobbies that I like to do, and I wanted to be able to do them in the places that I wanted to do them, which was part of the reason why I chose Portland. I really like to water ski, and I keep a boat that's about 10 miles from my office, so I can go after work. I'm in control of my own practice, and I have lots of young office staff, so we will go water skiing after work just for a couple of hours.
For me personally, one of the things I love to do is to go out to eat and explore new restaurants and taste new wine and do fun things like that, and also to spend time with my family on the weekends, and you can certainly do that.
I completed an Olympic distance triathlon during residency because I just needed something else to focus on. So that became my focus at that time.
I was just graduated from medical school. I bought a house. The house was built in 1897, and during my internship year, while still working my 80 hours a week, I still single-handedly gutted the entire first floor of the house down to the studs and renovated the entire first floor. Just did everything to a T, knocked out 2 load-bearing walls and had to have a structural engineer design a 16 and 12-foot beam that I encased with solid cherry that I stained to match brand new cabinets. And people come over and they look at my house and they're like, what in the, yeah, and I did it, because I only work 80 hours a week. Like, I think there's plenty of time. That was my first year. My second year, then I did the exact same thing to the second floor of the house.
You can have the lifestyle that you want. And, surgery is nice because it's a comfortable living, and you can choose to work as much or as little as you want.
Being a surgeon is a great profession, and it requires a clear commitment, but it's also not different than any other professional job in that sense, that you certainly have time to be home with your family. And again, it's a matter of making that a priority.
I wouldn't trade either my professional life or my family life. I'd do it all over again the same way. I have 6 loving children, and they have great kids themselves, and what's better than that? And my wife has been supportive. We've been married 48 years, and the end result is wonderful. It's a wonderful experience.
Well, don't be discouraged from surgery because the lifestyle, it's a definitely doable thing. And I think we're the example.
Very few surgeons on their deathbeds have said, I wish I did a few more gastrectomies. A whole lot of them have said, I wish I'd seen a few more of my kids' ball games. So I think that it's having balance and not letting your job own you, but you own your job, if I can phrase it that way.